Hey everybody, Father Dave. So I just made public a rap song that I wrote last year, not this past August, the year before, 2023, when I was up in Alaska. And it was a song that I shared with a couple people who I trust, asking them if I should release it, and they said no, for various reasons. So you should be able to see it on the channel. I don't have comments on the video, and it's for 18 and up. Why? So, and what's this about, Father Dave? Where are you going with this? So, this weekend is the Feast of Christ the King. And the Feast of Christ the King, it sounds great. You know, we love Jesus, he's our king. That was a feast that the Pope in the 1920s thought was important for us as Catholics around the world. And so he said, this will be a feast, and we should remember Christ the King. And why? Is we had just gotten out of World War I. And so the Pope wanted all Catholics to remember that we all have to listen to a higher authority, that, you know, our country, as great as it is, you know, and our leaders, as great as they are, or what have you, all have to answer to a higher power. And that's our Lord Jesus. And we think of Pontius Pilate and Jesus standing right in front of him, that, you know, Pilate has authority and Caesar's above him. Jesus is above them all, right? And as Catholics, we don't want to turn America into a monastery. We want to propose the faith. We don't want to impose the faith, right? People are free to follow God or not follow God, to worship, you know, Jesus Christ, or to worship whoever they wish, right? And we want people to have that freedom. But we should always remember, as Catholics who follow Jesus, that Christ is the supreme authority, no one else. And that we as Catholics are held to a higher standard, right? And we as priests are held to a higher standard, which is why, like, the priest scandal and all that stuff was so horrific. You know, when coaches and parents and teachers, you know, sin, it's hard, because we hold all these people to higher standards, and we should. And one day we'll all stand before the judgment seat of Christ. That's what St. Paul says. All right. Wait, Father Dave, this ain't a fun video. No, it's not. Let's go a little further. Why are you wearing your green jacket today? I don't know if anyone's thinking that. And your beard looks pretty gray, and it does. So I was disappointed yesterday to see that the president has decided to send landmines to the Ukraine. And landmines are something that the Catholic Church is not a fan of. Not just not a fan of, we think it's horrific. We think cluster bombs are horrific. And last year, because they're indiscriminate, they just kill everybody. And you introduce decades of pain, and years after, you know, the conflicts are over, people can still have their legs blown off and pass away and have all kinds of terrible things happen. And it's just like, it's not our way. Catholics, we have something called just war theory. Just war theory are the conditions necessary for someone to go to a war, to think that, okay, it's just that we go to war, and war is evil. But there are certain conditions that have to tick off necessary for us to go to combat. And then when in combat, there's certain standards that we're held to as Catholics. And if you can stop a conflict using, you know, proportional a response, that's great, as opposed to, you know, indiscriminate violence. So I made a rap song about it. Why rap? You don't put rap on to chill out. You relax to, like, rap. Rap is, from when I grew up, rap is like a fighty kind of medium. And so I thought it was good for a prophetic message. And there's a little talk at the end of the song, because both sides of Congress tried to get a law passed that America would not export cluster bombs, and both sides failed because of probably who they were attached to, because some political people are polarizing, whatever. It's messed up. But luckily in America, we have this system of government that are checks and balances, and if we have a law that says America will not sell, trade, donate, or export cluster bombs or landmines, then it doesn't matter who's the president, he or she wouldn't be able to do that, because we have a law against it. At least that's what I think, and I'm naive, but that's what I think. And when I saw what our president did yesterday, my heart dropped. And then when I watched my old song that was private, you couldn't find it on YouTube, at the end of the video, I talk about landmines, and then my stomach just, like, turned this morning. And I'm like, you know what? For what it's worth, I'm going to put that song out there now. The thought was back then that if all the people who watch this little channel here, maybe some of them would be motivated to call their congressman or woman and say, hey, can we pass a law that says America is not going to export cluster bombs? And I would add on to that now landmines. That that's something we don't ever want to do. We're America. We can help people in better ways. And if you think it from a Catholic side, if everyone around you wants to sin, that doesn't mean you sin. And someone may be saying, come on, do this thing. Come on, we're all going to curse. You curse too. We're all going to gossip. You gossip too. We're all going to drink. You drink too. Or Adam and Eve. Everyone around you is like, whatever, sleeping around. Come on, you do it too. No. Just because someone else wants you to sin and because they sin doesn't mean you sin. And they may want you to help. They may want you to help them in a bad way. But you and I are answering to a higher authority. And not that we always get it right. We need grace. But we have to stand before God. And so, again, we don't expect or want a Catholic president to push the Catholic faith on everybody. But every country in the world except for Russia and America don't have cluster bombs or don't agree that we won't use them. And then you look at how many agreements there are on how bad it is to use landmines. And I think if our allies want us to do something that does not ally with our morals, we should not do it. There's other ways to help them. So just want to put this out there as we enter the Feast of Christ the King. We tend to think of Jesus, and in America we think of Thanksgiving. But that feast was given to us before World War II happened. And the Pope back then was hoping that people would not think only of their political stuff and their country is right. And I get that not everyone in America here loves the new president who's going to be coming in or loves the current president who's going to be stepping out of office. So I would say, getting political, for those who don't want President Trump, or didn't vote for him, well, you hopefully will hold him to the fire, right? Hold his feet to the fire. If he does something that you think does not match what our morals should be and what's in the best interest of our country, I hope you would get politically active and call your representatives and be engaged and hold his feet to the fire. And for those of you who chose President Trump to be your president and voted for him because he promised to help make America great again and do these different things, well, hold him to what he said then, right? Let's act on this. We want to act on our faith and then act on the means that we have here in the country to make America a really good nation. So if you find that we have a public policy and a foreign policy that does not align with America's best values, then it's up to us as the citizens to call our representatives, to write letters, to make a phone call and say, hey, we don't like that and we want a law against this or that. So there it is. Those who want to hear a crazy rap song, it should be public on the channel and then some message afterwards. The first reading for Mass today. Why are you doing this today, Father Dave? So the first reading for Mass today is from the book of Revelation, where an angel is given a scroll to give to John. And God gives the gift of prophecy back again to John, to the church, to prophesy against, it says lots of things in there. One is to prophesy against kings, right? The kings are supposed to help their people and by saying and acting. But if the people don't speak to the king what needs to be said also, they're not helping their king. A shepherd sees the wolves coming and doesn't let the wolves attack the flock, stands up and fights the wolves and calls them out so the other shepherds can know how to protect the sheep. So anyway, I'm a bit of a sheepdog, I guess. And maybe this or the song will help you, motivate you to write or call your congressman or woman and say, hey, we don't want to give landmines. So if you can do anything about landmines and cluster bombs by encouraging America to have laws that say we will not donate, trade, or export these kind of weaponry, that'd be great. And that would help make the world a better place decades from now. God bless you out there.